Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to pick up from the bottom of Daf Pei Aleph Amud Beis, and Mirz Hashem, we're going to try to get all the way to the end of Pei Ches Amud Beis by the Mishnah. So we said in the Mishnah last week regarding the halacha of Aboyel Aramis Kanoim Poigim Boy. If a person's a kanoi, he could go immediately and kill this person that's boiled Aramis. So Boy Miner of Kahana Merav. Well, on the top of Pei Beis Amud Aleph, Loi Pogu Boy Kanoim Mahu. What is the halacha if the Maisa, no one did anything to him? What is the Einish? Zokt Rashi. Ma Einish Bedover. So in Anshe Rav, the Gemara, Rav forgot this Gemara, what the halacha is, what he learned from his Rebbe. He didn't know what to answer him. So Akruiler of Kahana Bechalme, he had in a dream. They told Rav Kahana this following pasuk: Bogda Yehuda v'Sa'eva Nasa B'Yisrael. There's a terrible zach that happened in Klai Yisrael B'Yisrael. Ki what? Chilo Yehuda. Yehuda was Mechalo Kodesh Hashem Asher Ohev. And what happened? Uba'al, he was boiled. Bas El Necher. The what? And a Getchka. The daughter of a Getchka. So we'll see what that means in a second. So Rav Kahana goes to Rav. Also, Amalei Hachi Akaryu, and this is what they read to me in the pasuk I had in the dream. And because of the pasuk, Adche Rav L'Gemara, remember the Gemara as follows: Bogda Yehuda. Now we're going to touch the pasuk. What's it mean? Bogda Yehuda, Zu Avodas Kachavim. This is doing Getchkas, doing Avodas Zarah. V'cheinu Aimer Kain, like it says in the pasuk. Kain begaten ki Beis Yisrael numashem. And what's it mean? V'Sa'eva. We all know Ta'eva Nasa B'Yisrael B'Shalayim. The Mishkav Zachar. V'cheinu Aimer, like it says in the pasuk. Ve'Zachar le'Sishkav Mishkavei Isha. Why? Because it's Ta'eva, he it's a Ta'eva. Kichila, and then it continues in the pasuk. Kichila Yehuda Kodesh Hashem is what? Zuzayna v'cheinu Aimer l'ses le'iyah Kodesh. And what's it say at the end of the pasuk? Ba'al Bas El Necher Zeh Al Ba'al Akusis. So we see that someone who's Ba'al Akusis is what? Is this Getchka, and the reason is because when you marry a daughter, you marry a Kusis, she's busy with Avodah Zarah, and you end up serving that Avodah Zarah. And what's it say at the end? And this is what Rav remembered. It says, Yachris Hashem le'esha she'asena erva aina, who answers and everything. Ma'ale Yaakov Netetzi Yaakov Mankish Minchal Hashem Tzevakis. That what? What's the pasuk saying? Im Tamachachim. If this person who's a boil Aramis is a Tamachachim who lo yelo er, he's not going to have what? He's not going to have a son. That's a Tamachachim b'Chachamim. Ve'oine, what's it mean b'Chachamim? Ve'oine b'Talmidim in Koyinu lo yelo ben Magish Minchal Hashem Tzevakis. He's not going to be able to bring anybody. He's not going to have a son to bring anything to the Bais Medrash. Amar Chia bar Rav Yehuda Kalabal Kusis Kilu Mischasein b'Avodas. It's like a mamish doing Avodah Zarah. It's like a marrying into what? Into Avodah Zarah. They say, like it says, Ubal Bas El Necher. V'chibas Yeshlo El Necher. What's that mean? Does a Getchka have a daughter? Avadanat Elazeba Alakusis. When you attach yourself to a person who's Ovid Avodah Zarah, you end up what? You end up serving the Avodah Zarah. Amar Chia bar Rav Yehuda Kasuv Al Gilgalto Shel Yoikim. And the skull of Yoikim, it said as follows: Zois, this, V'oidacheres, and then another. And the Gemara says, Amaisas Gainoi, the Repreda, which is Rav Chia bar Rav Yehuda. He sees the skull that was thrown. It was cast in the gate through Yerushalayim. And Taka said on this skull, Zois v'aydacheres. So cover. He tried burying it. Next thing you know, it surfaced. V'adanavik. Again, cover v'adanavik. He says, Haigel Golta Shal Yaikam. This is the what? The skull of a Yaikam, the Chsibbe. Like it says, Kvuras Chamar Yikav. You're going to bury like a donkey. But Sechai V'hashlich Mahal L'Shar Yerushalayim. It's going to get cast and dragged to where? To the gates of Yerushalayim. So he says to himself, Chia tells himself, Omar Malka, Maisa, Yaikam was a king. V'lavor Ch'ar L'Bezuye. Past nish to embarrass him. So Shalka Karcha B'Shiroi, V'oitza B'Sifti, he takes it, he wraps it up in nice silk, and he puts it in his basket. Also Divisu, his wife sees this nice, he sees this bag, this silk cloth, opens it up, and Chazise, she sees the skull. So Nafka, she goes outside, and she tells all the neighborhood, the hak. Amr Lila Shavusa, she tells all the neighbors, you know what I saw a skull in my house. Amrila, they tell her, you know what the skull is? Hi de Issaka Maisa. This is the skull of your husband's first wife, and he can never let go of her. He's still in love. He's still stuck in her head. He did like him. Anchila. So she was very upset what the neighbors did, what the neighbors told her. So what'd she do? Shagrasa letanurusa vikalsa. She takes the skull and she throws it into the oven and she burns it. Kiasa, when he came back, he sees what happened, that his wife ended up burning the skull. Ve'oid, acheres, this, and another thing on it. They said as follows: Habal akusis. Chayv aleh mishum, what? Nashga. What's it mean, Nashga? It's Nida, Shivcha, Kusis, all these cases, like over Nida, Shivcha, Gaya is for the Gimel, and Aleph is for the Ashes, for Ashes ish. However, Kiyasa Rav and argued and said, no, you don't have the Ishus part. Amar Mishum Nashgas, which is everything's the same, which is Nida, Shivcha, Gaya, but over here it's Zaina. However, Mishum Ishus ain't lam, there's Stam Rashi's Masber, the Mafka, the Nesheseyam, Kusis, the Bechlal, the Mufkala Rayas. Fraktik Mara v'idach. What's Rav Dimi going to hold? Lemaisa. He holds there is ishus. He says no. Nishayu vade lo'mifkri. As much as they're full as nus kusim, but they're not going to let up and they're not going to give over their stam, their wives, to people to do bim mizana with them. Amir of Chizna. Now we're going to go through the fascinating subject of kanoim paigim bay. Habali malach ain't moyer loy, which means to say Rav Chizda's halacha is you can't go over to your rabbi, call up your rabbi. What is the halacha? Can I be pageya this boiler ramas? The second you call and you ask shilas, we don't instruct you to do it. It's only when it comes from what? It comes from an immediate result of what you want to do. It manami Omer Rabbi Bechana Rabbi Bali malach ain't moyer loy. V'loyed. More than that, now we're going to go through the Maisa with Zimri. Eloshem Pirish Zimri B'harga Pinchas. Not only that, if Zimri, while he's being boiled, he would have separated himself and killed Pinchas, Naragolov. Why? Because he wasn't doing the Maisa still, right? The second he would have let go from the Aveira, we're going to see more than that, he had to give him a Zara. He has to tell him, he has to tell Zimri, you should stop because otherwise he's going to kill you. And if he taka stops and then he kills him, Naragolov, Nepach Zimri, Vahargi, turns around, he kills Pinchas, and Naragolov Sharei Raidifu. Okay, now let's discuss the whole Maisa with Pinchas and Zimri. Vayomer, Moishel, Shaif, the Yisrael, V'goymer. This is the pasuk of Midbar. It's quite fascinating, quite extensive, and it goes as follows: Halach Shifter Shel Shimon Etzel Zimri ben Suli. We all know the Maisa with Bilam and Balak. Bilam tells Balak, the Maisa, the best way to what? To knock out Klai Yisrael is to be mafker your Nesheseyah. Like that, they're going to do is nus. So what happened was Halach Shifter Shel Shimon Etzel Zimri ben Salu. Amrulai ain't done in din in the fashois. Lamaisa, they were doing Avodah Zarah, they were doing the Balpar. Because if you look at the end of the pasuk, Vayamim Moshe Shav Yisrael, here Guish and Ashav, and it's mod in the Balpar, the people that attach themselves to what? To the Balpar. So they said they're killing us because we're doing Avodah Zarah. You're sitting quiet. So what did Shimon do? Amad v'kibitz chavdal at elf Misrael. He gathers 24,000 Miklai Yisrael from Meshevet v'halachitz Cosby. Amrullah, he pulls over to Cosby and he says, Shmili, let's do Tashmish together. She answers back, Amrullah Bas Melech Ani. First of all, Bas Melech Ani. I'm a daughter of a Melech. V'chein tzivili avi. My father told me, Leitishmi l'gadol shebehem, which is Moshe Rabbeinu. But what does Shimon answer? Amrullah Afu Nasi Shevetu, which is talking about himself from third party. I myself am a Nasi v'loyid elashu gadol mimena Moshe Rabbeinu is what? Shusheni lebetan. Where he's talking about himself. Me, what am I? I'm Shimon. I'm from Shevet Shimon, I'm Sheni Lebetan. V'hu, Moshe is coming from who? Levi. V'hu Shlishi Lebetan. So what happened? Tafsa, Biblusha, grabs a blairis, which we all know, the plaited here, the braids, holds it by here. V'yetzel Moshe schleps her. Mama schleps it to Moshe Rabbeinu. Amalai ben Amram. Zu Asura Meteris. What is the halacha with this girl? V'im Taima Asura Bas Yisra Me'atir L'cha. The Maisa, and then he started doing the Maisa of Tashmish. But Nisamim and halacha, the halacha of what? Of Kanoim Paigim Bay. Go, Kula B'chi, everyone started crying behind the Chsiva, Hema Baichim, Pesach Omei, they were crying Chsiva. Yar Pinchas ben Elazar. Suddenly Pinchas saw, my Ra, my Rav, Ra, Maisa. He saw what was going on with Zimri v'Niskar, halacha of Kanoim Paigim Bay. Amalei Achi Avi Abba, which was his great uncle, Loi Kachli Mantani, Beritacham and Har Sinai. Or when you're going from Har Sinai, we're going down, you said, Aboila Ramas Kanoim Paigim Bay. So he answered him back, Amar Lai, very famous statement, Karyana de Igris, so the person that reads the letter, Iu Lahave, Faranavako, he should be the Shliach, and you should go what? And you should go do the Maisa. But Avada, we have to remember, he's not arguing with Rav Chizda. He didn't ask Moshe Rabbeinu what the halacha is. He mentioned to him, but Avada, Bali Malech, there's no Shaila, Ein Moirin Lai. Zok the Marv Shmuel Amar Ra Shein Chachma Vein Tvuna Vein Eitza Neged Hashem. The what? Kamakim Sheishchil Hashem. We don't speak in Chalka Kaval Rav. We don't even ask Moshe Rabbeinu. He went and did the Maisa. If Yitzchak Amar Belazar Ra Sheba Malach Vehishis Ba'am Vayakam Ra Malach Vehishis Ba'am Vayakam Mitach Eidach Vayakam Mitach Eidah. So what did Pinchas do? He gets up And it sounds like Rashi's masber till now he didn't have this Raimach, his spear in his hand. Vayikach Raimach biyadam, he can't. From here we see that he had to go get it. Shein nichnasin b'kli zayin lebeis hamedrash. Like that, he had to go get it. So the Gemara continues what happened. Shalaf shananav enicha be'unkulai. He takes his little spear tip, the metal, and he puts it in his malbush, Rashi says, in his clothing. He's going like he's making belief. He's going on his cane. So he pulls up to the encampment of Shimon. He says, Mechatesi, that we're better than you. You guys are being mafkin, saying you guys are having fun. You think we're better from you that we can't either be mafka ourselves? So Amru, I guess there were guards by the door. Hey, Nichalu, let him in. Hey, Nichalai, let Pinchas in. He also needs to do his tashmish, Rashi says. So Nichnas, Lamaisa, he comes in, Tishu, Perushim Esadavar. They started saying, even the Perushim were saying, wow, look at him. He's coming in. Kol Shekain, we can do it. If Pinchas is doing it, we can also do it. Zok the Heilige Gemara Rabbi Yochanan Shisha Nisan Nasul Pinchas. He had 6 fascinating Nisan that happened when he went and killed Zimri. Echo Shoyle the Zimri Lifresh V'lei Pirish. Lamaisi Game Azar. What was he thinking? He told him, I'm going to kill you. And he didn't. He still continued. That's nice, number 1. First of all, he should have screamed, help me, help me. And you have to remember, he was the Nasi. They would have came and killed Pinchas. The echad shekivon bezachrusa shalish ubenakvusa shalisha. He's able to what? Mamish smack them, kill them. Mamish by the car, and you're going to hold them by the spear. And everyone realized the nace. Everyone knew he was doing it because he didn't have a sin, or rather he had to do it. The echad shalai nishmatu min roimech should fall off. It's very hard to hold 2 dead bodies on a spear. The echad shebamalch v'gbias hamashkev. He was holding the spear in his hand with the 2 bodies, and he had to pass the door frame. The door frame was very low. In order to, now what would happen? He would have to lower the spear. The second he lowered the spear, the bodies would have fell down. So he was able to hold it and continue, and suddenly the door frames went up. The echad shebamalch v'hishchis ba'am, like that everyone was confused, and they didn't realize what was going on. He slams the bodies down in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The front of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Like we all know, are above Esrim Helef. Pinchas gets up, and he started davening. A regular lashon tefillah, nemar elevei fallo, more of a lashon riv, more of a lashon fighting. He quarreled with the Rebbeinu Shalom. So Bikshu Malchei Asharis L'Doichvait, they wanted to push away Pinchas. Amalander, Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachal tells them Malchei Asharis, no, Hanichaloi, because he's a Kanoi, Ben Kanoi, Levi will know with the Maisa which Chem. Who Meishiv Chem, Ben Kanoyu, and there was also Meishiv Chem who Meishiv Chema Ben Meishiv Chema. We all know with the Maisa with Aaron with Kairach. His chilu shvatim evazin oisa. They all started making fun of Pinchas. Read them and pusizeh. Shepitim aviima Yisrael yagolim lavadis kachavim. Harag nasi shavim Yisrael. Sabah kasu. We saw this in Bava Basra. Veyichsu Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron akayin. So Amalei Hakadosh Baruch Hu L'Moshe hakdim loy shalom shenemalei. It says in the pasuk L'chein Emar hini noseli esprish shalom v'ri kapar zoom. More than that, shetei mechaperes v'leches loy. Okay, the Gemara continues a little more regarding the Maisa of Pinchas. Amar of Nachman, Amar Rav, my dechsev, what does it say in the pasuk, which we're going to play in the words? Zarzir masnayim, someone who has the energy of a lion, Oisayish, which is a goat, Umelech alkum imay. So Zok the Gemara is follows. Dalid Mea of the Esrim, Zarzir is 424 in Gematria. The Zayin Reish, Zayin Yud Reish, is 424 Be'ilois Baal Oisa Rasha Oisa Yom. He was able to do Tashmish 424 times, and every time he was Mezriah, he ended up becoming more and more weaker. That's the word from Zarzir. Vehimtim Asnaim is Lashon to wait. Vehimtim like Pinchas. Ad from Tayish. We're playing with the word of the Tayish of the goat to Lashon getting weak. Achet Tashash Kaichu. Who? Vehu. Any day he doesn't know that the Rebbeinu Shalom. Shemelech, we're playing with Melech Alkum with the Kama, the Rebbeinu Shalom Imai. Masnisa Tana says Shishim. He did it 60 times. Hashanatse, Kebetza, Muzera, Sizera, Vihi Isa, and she was Karuga like a garden bed of Malaya Mayim. Amr Kahana, again, it doesn't mean mamish literal like we all know. Amr Kahana, Meshava, her rechem was base. So, Tanya of Yosef, Kever Shalah, her seat was a base. Tanya of Yosef, Kever Shalah was a Amma. That's how big her rechem was. Amr Sheish was like Kazbi Shema. Rather, her name was what? Shivil Illinois, Batsur Shema. First of all, Shekazav Aviyah. she deceived her father. What did her father tell her to do? Go to Moshe Rabbeinu. Who does she do with? Lamaisa. We all know she ended up doing it with Shimon, with Zimri. That's number one. Rashi says, Shchait, let the Kleisler get slaughtered through me. This is what they were saying regarding her. Between the bushes, the reeds. Shilvanoi, my boy, what is she doing there? Bahadi kalpi the kani. Between the peels of the reed, Shilvanoi, my boy, Dahainu gavsal ima. She's doing znus. And like Rashi says, they would be mevazer her mother, and they would say that what? That was more of a lashon taich, and they would say, you know what they're doing there? The father doing znus, and they would call her Zaina Baz Zaina. Rav Yechon Chamisha Shemesh Yeshli Zimri. Yeshli Zimri, number one, Ben Salu, V'Shaul, Ben Aknanis, V'Shamuel, Ben Tzuri Shaddai. Zimri, first of all, Shanasa Kabetza Muzeris, his era when he was doing so many times Tashmish. Ben Salu, Al Shehisli, Avoinoi Shemashpachtai. Very, very sad. His whole family embarrassed his whole mishpacha. Shol, Al Shehishol, Lashon Sheh, like lending, Atzma Dvarveiroi, Ben Aknanis, like he did the mice of Knanim, which also mice of Knan. Umash Shemai, his name was Shmuel, Ben Tzuri Shaddai Shemai. Okay, Ad Kana Maisa with Pinchas in the Torah. Koyin Sheshimesh Betuma. Boy, Min Rav Achabar Huna Rav Sheshes Koyin Sheshimesh Betuma. What is the halacha? Koyin. He does while he's tummy. Is Chai Misa B'Teshmaim? In Chai Misa B'Teshmaim. Amalei. It's the answer. What do you mean? Tenusua. It's a brayso. Koyin. Our Mishnah, if anything. Koyin Sheshimesh Betuma. What's our Mishnah say? Ein Achiv Akana Mevinas Elabazin Elapechik Kuna the Kindelach from 13 till 20. Maitzina Sechutz Lazar. Upaitzin is Meicha Begreason. We said we smash his head with clubs. Let go of him to look over the Shemaim. Why are we getting involved? Let him die on his own. Let their Bnei Shalom kill him. What do you right back? The Bnei Shalom said that what? You're Potter. We're going to go and kill him. We have this regarding the Mishnah Malkus. Our Mishnah said earlier, Mi shalak. We saw this mamish earlier. Mi shalak v'shana bezna machnisnai salakipa. The Mishnah on the top of Pei Aleph and Beis clearly says that if so on, what do? We put him in prison. So Rachmana Pater and Niktinule, same type of question. Why do we put him in prison? You're killing him. My answer is no. That's not a good ride from the Mishnah. There we're talking about Kare, so Mele Taka deserves to die. Frak the Mara of Againev, as a kasva we saw in the second Mishnah on Pei Aleph and Beis. And the Mar answers no. Rav Yehuda B'Klishar says, we're talking about the tubes for the lechem upon him. For Gemara, Tani Rav Yosef, Yaakov Kaisem is Kaisma. Mar answers again, the Mechzing Vachas Hashem. Boil Ramis. Mar answers no. Kurila Rav Kahana B'Chamei V'Itche Rav Legamre. What did Rav mention? Rav remembered the next pasuk where it says Yachres Hashem Leish, where he gets chorus. So Maisi, you have no Rav. You have no right. Frak Gemara Eisvei Hayotzek. When talking about many zachin, where the halach is you only chayev. Rashi's mazman for something only chayev kares on three zachin: sheichet, mal, which is burning, and zayrik. Why they learn it from Zayr? It's not so much our sugya, but anything that's towards the end of the avodah. So a yaitzik, someone just pours va'boiler or mixes va'paisis, or he breaks hamilch and salts and made if any ways. Hamagish and he brings from masadas or shulchan with the lechem upon him. Or meitiv he prepares the menorah va'kaimitz, or he removes the kaimitz from the carbon mincha. V'amakabel damachot. So Allah is your potter. V'ein chayav and aleh. What are you not chayiv? On the topic in Lamed Aleph, loy mishum zars. You're not chayiv misa zar v'loy mishum tuma. If a kain the teammate, he's not chayiv v'loy mishum mechutz v'gadim v'loy mishum richatz yadayim reglayim. He didn't wash his hands and his feet. We make a diak. Ha mikativ. Someone who burns it while he's tummy. What is the halacha? Chayiv. My love misa. And if you're here, you clearly see that what's a right? They chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. My answer is lo. You're not chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. Rather, what do you chayiv? It's only ba'azara. So frak the Gemara. So you only chayiv ba'azara. Frak the Gemara lazar nami lazara. If so, it comes at the zar would also have azar. But the problem is vaksiv azar hakariv you must. Regarding azar, we clearly know you get misa. So why should a kohen? We're thinking who would then a kohen? My answer is no. Hakadisa, hakadisa. A zar in a chanami, if it's a zar, he's going to get misa. But a kohen, that's time he's only going to get and hazar. Mechlal. In fact, the more the yaitzik ubayl lav nami loy. V'atanya hakadabi. We know you clearly get a lav by yaitzik ubayl. Azar the yaitzik ubayl minay. Tamalay mar. K'doshim yiyu v'lo yichalu. My answer is no, you're wrong. It's only midrabanan. V'kra smach d'ba'ama. Frek Gemara Meisvei, we just saw V'elein Shabimisa is Tamei Shishimish. So don't tell me that he's not Chayv Misa. In a Chanami, in the Maisi, Chayv Misa b'Deshemayim, and it's Ein a Chanami, it's a Tiyuft. Okay, now we're going to go through this brisa that we went through quickly earlier. Gufa, Ve'elu Shebemisa, that's Chayv Misa b'Deshemayim. One is, Ha'eichel es hatevel. Someone eats tevel, which is truma was not taken from it. Chayv Misa b'Deshemayim. Number one. Ve'koyin Tamei Sha'achel Truma Tahayra. A koyin is Tamei, he eats regular truma. Well, it's tar. V'zar Sha'achel is a truma. Number three, V'zar Sheshimish, V'tamei Sheshimish. Utvol Yoim. He has to go to the mikvah. Sheshimish, Mechusar Begadim. He's not wearing all the Begadim, Mechusar Kapara. He didn't bring the carbon. Shalai Rachatz Yadayim Raglayim. V'shisu Yayin, someone who's drunk. Ufuru Raish, he didn't get a haircut. Aval Orel, V'yayne V'yayshid. These three people, someone who's an Orel. For example, his brothers, even if he did it because he couldn't get a bris milah because his brothers all died. V'aynin, he's an aynin. We all know what that means. The Zayin, Kroivim, just died on him. The Yashiv, he's not doing Amida. All those cases, Einam b'misa elabazar. You're only going to get the what? You're only going to get Azar. So, and what's the halacha by Baal Mum? Rabbi Yomim b'misa v'chacham Yomim bazar. So it's machlekes regarding Baal Mum. We're talking about a koyin Baal Mum avad, not a zar. It's pashut. Hazit b'meila. What is the halacha if he did it b'kavana? He was nanem and a hegdish. What is the halacha in such a case? Rabbi Yomim b'misa v'chachamim Yomim b'hazar. Ad kan this price. So let's break it down. Frak Gemara as follows. Ha'oichel es a tevel minolan. How do you know somebody eats tevel as chayim misa b'deshemayim? More answers. Dam Shmuel Mishum Relazim. Nine loichels a tevel shum misa d'chsiv. Says clearly in the pasuk. V'lo yichalu es kache. It's v'lo yichalu it's kache b'nei Yisrael. Es asher yarimu l'Hashem. When it says that what shasidin litrum zok Rashi that you're not allowed to eat it while it's tevel. Basidim litrum akosim medaber. So how do you know misa? Where it says v'yolav chilul metruma. If you look at the pasuk of Gimel, the pasuk starts v'lei chalu, and it says a pasuk dalet. We're talking about a kain tamei over there that ate. It says v'shamru is mishmarti v'lo yisrael of chet umesu. It clearly says in the pasuk you get misa. Why ki chalu ani Hashem ekachim. So we make a gzer shava. Mal lahalon, just like by the kain tamei is b'misa. Afkan b'misa. Frak Gemara, learning out from Naisar, and Naisar only has kares. We saw this Gemara once. V'nelof chilu min Naisar. Why do you learn it from Naisar? Mal lahalon b'kares afkan b'kares. My answer is mistam metruba. Because we're going to see there's 7 milas. Mistamer mitruma havel. First of all, shekain. Number 1 is it's mitruma. The hainu this is truma, and tevel is truma. Naisar has nothing to do with truma. So tevel and truma are similar regarding truma. And chutz la'aretz, nicer is osha nayig, and the B'midbar Rashi says can be nayig b'chutz la'aretz, but this is not. Number 1 is hutra. You have a heter for the isser. By nicer has no heter. Berabim is, first of all, the lashon is v'lo yichalu regarding nicer. It's a lashon yachid. That's number 4. Number 5, it's by peiros. And nicer is only by meat. And number 6 and number 7 is pigul v'naiser. It's not shayich, only by kachim pigul v'naiser. So you have 7. Frekting mara adarabim min noiser v'lamelaf. Shekain, first of all, it's the psul eichel. Regarding the nicer and the truma and the tevel, is both of you are eating the psul. Number 1. And ein leheter b'mikvah. Meshain can a kain tamei. He has had to go to the mikvah. My answer is l'maisa hanach nefishan. You have 7 from truma and you have 2 from nicer. You should learn it out from truma, which is 7. To learn out from Ravina Amar Childa Rabim. Adif, like when you see in Bais, that Childa Rabim, if you look at the lashon of Psukim, one is Leichalu Ki Chalu, Meshenke by Naisar, it's a lashon Yachid. V'kayin next, it says V'kayin Tamei Sha'achol Truma Tahira Minolan. How do you know a kayin Tamei that eats Truma Tahira is Chayim Misa? Like it says in the pasuk, v'shamru es mishmarti v'leisel of chet v'goymer. Now it doesn't say it in the Gemara, but when you look in the Goymer and you look in the Torah, it says what? Umeisa bai. The Torah brings it down. It clearly says misa ki chal. Tahira in. However, dafka when it's tar, but tmeya if the truma is tamei loy damashmul amalazim and ayin the kohen tamei shachol truma tmeya. Not tar she'ena b'misa she'nemar like it says. Umeisa bai when they get misa ki chalalu prat 1 pigimel and beis lazu shemuchelas oimedes it's ready mechulu because it's tamei. Vizar sha'achal as a truma. Amarav zar sha'achal as a truma. You know what you get? Loike. you get malchus. You don't get misa. Amar le'Rav Kana, Rav Asya, Rav le'im b'mar b'misa l'chesiv, like it says in the pasuk. V'chol zor. It clearly says lo yoichal kodesh. More answers no. Ani Hashem mekacham. It says, and if you look at Chavei's test, Ani Hashem mekacham, where it talks about mis, which is the pasuk about the kohen tamei, is mafsik. Hipsik enyan. Meisei, fractive elon shem misa. We just said zarachil it's a truma. Clearly, you do get misa. It says mesnisan at the Rav Karamis. You can't ask him Rav. Rav, we all know tanuhu upolik. Vezor sheshimish. The halacha is chai misa dechsev azar akar yumas. What about a Tamei Sheshimish? Could the Bami Nerachia Berav and Rabbi Yisrael Minayin le Tamei Sheshimish ubemisa? Dichsev, like it says in the pasuk. Daber el Aaron velbana ve'inazru. They should separate themselves. Mekachi b'nei Yisrael. We're talking about what? When the Tamei v'lo yichalu shem kachi. Frak the mar like early v'yalav chilu. Oh, v'yalav chilu chilu metruma malam b'misa afkam b'misa. Frak the mar v'nelav chilu chilu menaiser malalon kars afkam nekars. My answer is like we saw mistaber metruma v'lemelaf. Why? Because there's 4 nekudas. Shekain, first of all, guf. Like we said earlier, Tamei Sheshimish and Tamei Sha'achal, they're both psulei guf. Nothing to do with nicer. And number one has to do with Tamei. They're both Tamei Sheshimish and Tamei Sha'achal, Truma. And they both have the heter of mikvah, and they both have Lashon Chilul of Birab. And over here, we don't have the heter of 7 verse 2, which we saw in Amud Aleph, of Nefishon. Rather, they're both 4. Number 1 is they're talking about Kaidish. And the both Nagar, the Nicer and the Kaidish, they were both in the Fnim. And they both have Pigul B'Nicer. Truma has no Pigul B'Nicer. My answer is Chil de Rabim, Chil de Rabim Atif. Like we saw in Ravina Madalf, that the best thing is you have 4 against 4. If you look in the Psukim, they both say Leichalu regarding Truma, and Mesha'en Kain, Nicer is a Lashon Yach. Tful Yoin, Sheshimish is Chayiv Misa. Minolan, the Tanner B'Samayim Amar, Oitmer B'Samayim Rem Mizla Tvul Yoim Shem Avad Chilu Minayin Tamalayim. It says Kedoshim Yiyu like Kayam V'Lo Yichalu. Now Im Eina Inyan L'Tamish Shimish. Like we saw earlier, the Nafkalam, we already learned it out from the pasuk earlier that they should separate themselves. This is the pasuk of the Yikruch of Bais. To know Inyan L'Tvul Yoim Sheshimish V'Yalav Chilu Chilu Metruma Ma'Lalam B'Misa. Just like from Truma it's Misa Avkam B'Misa. Now B'Chos B'Gadim. How do you know Mechus Begadim in Allah and Amar Vo Am Yechnu Matu Bab Shmeder Velazar B'Shimin says clearly in the pasuk v'chagar ta'isam avnei should wear a belt mizman shebigdayim aleim when they're wearing the belt kunasam aleim ain't bigdayim aleim ain't kunasam aleim v'havu luzarim and we all know v'amar zar sheshimish gets b'misa Mechus Kapara min Allah he doesn't bring the carbon. How do you know he's Chai Misa? Amar Ravuna Damakra it says clearly in the pasuk v'chipar alei kain. What's it say? V'chipar alei kain v'tahera. Tahera Mechlal Shitmei V'Amar Tar Sheshimish is B'Misa. V'Shaloi Rechatz Yadayim G'Rayim L'Lalon Dechsev V'Bayim Alay Mayed Yirchutzu Yamayim. If they wash hands, V'Lay Musu. But if they don't, they will get Misa. V'Shisui Yayin Dechsev Yayin V'Sheichar, like it says, wine and sheichar stuff that get you intoxicating. Alt Teish, you should not drink V'Goyim. Ufu Reish Dechsev Reishim Le'Galechu. Ufera Leisha Lechu Chesed Basrei. What does it say? V'Yayin Le'Yishtu Iskash Make a Hekesh Per Reish Shisui Yayin. Mashisui Yayin is B'Misa. Av Perui Reish is B'Misa. Okay, those Adkan, that's the Bais for all Chayiv Misa. Now we're going to go through the last 3 that we said regarding an regarding an Aril, Einin Yashiv. There they only get a Zar. Aval Aril, Einin Yashiv is only gets Bazar. Arel, where do we know Minolan? Amr Chizda Davaz Emitaris Moshe Rabbeinu Lo Lamanu. We didn't tackle in this Moshe Rabbeinu Acha, but Yechazkel Ben Buzi V'Lamanu. Says in the pasuk, Kol Benechar Arel Leif V'Arel Basar. Now Arel Leif means someone who's rotten. Who's a person who's Arel Leif? Someone who goes Rachmon Litzlan and ends up doing what? He ends up doing Avodah Zarah. We're on the top of Peidal Amanal V'Arel Basar, which Rashi says he couldn't do Mila because all his brothers died. Lo Yavayim Mikdashi L'Shasein. Einin. Okay, how do you know Mina Einin? So Rashi's Mazra Layav is only Azar Mediva Kabbalah, and in Echanam you're not going to even get Malchus. Einin Minola and Dechsev, like it says in the pasuk. Umena Migdash is talking about the Kohen Gadol. Umena Migdash Layetz, V'Loichalis Migdash Lakav Acher Shalayat. So we're talking about a regular Kohen. We make a diak from this. A regular Kohen Chilul. Amar Rav Adu Rava Neilav Chilul Chilul Metruma Mala Lam Misa. Why is it only Azara? You should get even Misa. Avkam Misa. Now the more answer is Mikse big ufei. We didn't even have in the pasuk clearly that a kohen is what is bechlal is mechal. We're learning it. We're making a dig from the kohen gadol. Miksib bebukufei meklalas. You have a davar bam and a klal. We all know v'chol davar bam and a klal. Ein don in oisai b'gzeira shav. Okay, how do you know Yoshev when he's sitting down? He's chayva zara. Minolan amirava amar Nachman amar Kra. It says clearly in the pasuk, ki boy bachar Hashem. Hashem alekachem mikol shavtecha. Choose me from all your shvatim. Lamoid. Underline the word lamoid. Clearly says you should stand. L'shareis. Lamida v'charti. Tzazar di should stand v'loy l'shiva. Balmum. We saw it's machlekes. Rabbi Yomim Misa Chamayim Bazar. So my time of the Rabbi that you get Misa. Tichsev achal pareicha. It says in the pasuk lo yavai ve'la mizbeach lo yigash ki mum boy. Clearly says he has a mum. V'yalav chilu chilu matruma malalam misav kam misa. Frek tomorrow. Why do you learn out from Naisa, which is karis? V'neilav chilu chilu menaiser malalam bekaris. Av kam bekaris. My answer is like we saw earlier a little. Mistav matruma lamelav. Shekain again. Psula guf mipsula guf. Regarding Naisa, has nothing to do with the guf. It has to do with the basar. Frek tomorrow. Adaram Naisa lamelav. Shekain. First of all, it's kaidish, and it's we said this earlier. It's kaidish and it's pnim, and it has pigum and Naiser. Ella, you're right. We're learning now from Mitamash Hashimish, Gama Psula Guf, and Kaidish Pnim Pigol V'Naiser, and Kaidish Pnim Pigol V'Naiser. Frek Demara Rabbanan. What's Taka Rabbanan going to say that argues and you only say G'chai V'Azara? Makray learns, it says Mum Boy. When it clearly says V'Shamus Mishmarti, it's actually Pasuk V'Yircha Beis Tes, V'Lo Yisrael of Chet, U'Mesu Boy. We make a dig Boy, V'Lo Bibal Mum. Okay. We said in the halacha, Hazim Mila Rabbi Yomim Misa V'Chamim Bazar. My time of the Rabbi that what Yichai Misa Marvo Gomar Chet Mitruma Mala Alon. We know about Trumas B'Misa Avkam B'Misa. Rabbani Amri Amakra again says Boy V'Loi Mila Zar Shishimish B'Mikdash is Chayiv Misa. Tani Rabbi Shmuel Ayman Namerkan V'Zar Hakarav Yumas. The question is where we're learning that from. So clearly says in the pasuk V'Zar Hakarav Yumas. V'Namer Lalon regarding Karach V'Adasa it says Kol Hakarev. Says in the pasuk, Kol Hakarith Hakarva Mishkan Hashem Yamus. So here it says Yamus. Instead of Yumas says Yamus. We're going to make that Gzer Shava. That what? Kol Hakarva Hakarva Mishkan Hashem Yamus. Mala Allah and it's only B'dishmayim. Avkam B'dishmayim. Rabbi Kiva argues of Kiva. Rabbi Kiva I mean Namer Kan V'Zar Karv Yumas. V'Namer La'alon regarding a Navi which is convincing the Eilam to do Avodah the Zar. It says V'Navi Ahu Achalayim 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 Ahu Yumas. And we all know by the Navi, what over there is not Misa B'dishmayim, rather it's Skila, Mala, Lama Skila, Avkam Skila. Rabbi Yochanan ben Uri, Amar Mala, Lama Chenek, Avkam Chenek. So Vrekdemar, but my Kamiflki, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva. So Vrekdemar, I say. Rabbi Kiva saw a done in Yumas, Miyumas. Let's be real, you have a choice of Yumas to Yamus or Yumas to Yumas. We rather learn Yumas, which is the Zar, Miyumas of the Navi. And the Navi clearly gets Skila. Vein Dani and Yumas, we don't learn the Zar, from where Miyamus, which is Kairach. If it's a different Lashon. Rabbi Shmuel Sava, no. Done and Hedit Mehedit, and done and Hedit min Navi. We rather do Yumas and Yamus than learn it out from a Navi. Rabbi Kiva says, hey, he ain't a Navi. Kiva Shediach, in the Hedit, Godom Azeh. That's one point. Zaktamar, Micah Mifli, Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Yechon Menuri regarding Chenek and Skila. People look to Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan. We all know the Tanya, Navi Shediach. What is the halacha Navi? The convinced Oilam Tova, the Zara Beskila. However, Rabbi Shimon argues, Rabbi Shimon holds, Bechenek, I'm a Bechenek. Nan Rabbi Kiva Oime B'Chenek. We have a Chayra Bryce that says clearly, the Mishnah says Rabbi Kiva also holds you get Chenek. That's what we saw earlier. Our answer is Trei Tanoi V'Leid Rabbi Kiva. Masnis in our Mishnah that says Chenek. It's Rabbi Shimon V'Leid Rabbi Kiva. Bryce that says Skila. It's Rabbanon V'Leid Rabbi Kiva. It's a Machlekes and Echanami. They were both Tamid Rabbi Kiva. The Machlekes are Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanon, and each one it depends. If you like Rabbi Shimon gets Chenek, however the Bryce the held Skila, they both say Rabbi Kiva. Hadron Aloch Elun Nisrafin Hadron Aloch. Okay, now we're going to start a parak regarding the Misa, the final Misa of the Dal Misas, which is Chenek. We learned about Chenek. They take the rope, they both yank it till as Neshama is Yaitzis. Elohein Anechnokin. First of all, it's a Maka of the Ima. We're going to see exactly what it means, with the wound, without a wound, if you're Shliach Bezdin. We're going to go through this by Riches. The Goyne Nefesh Misrael, someone kidnaps, we're going to see if you take a certain Rishuyos, you have to use them. We'll go through this. The Zakim Amre, Al Pipaz, we're going to discuss the Zakim Amre. The Navi Sheker, the Misnam Neshem Vadis number 5. Number 6 is Abal Shisish. The Zoyim Bas Koyen. In the Bayala, we learned this. We have a diak, he tesar v'loy Bayala. And just like Hashazam and Lasis La'achiv v'loy La'chayse to tell us that they're going to get Chenek and not Sreifa. So let's jump right into the first one. Zok Dagmar, Maka Ava v'imoy minolim. How do you know they get Chenek? How do you know B'chlal they get Misa, Maka, Tchsev, Maka Ava v'imoy? It says in the Pasuk, Ma'is Yumas. V'chol misa mur b'toyer hastam ein lechenek. Frak the Gemara, mechatesi maka just means wound him. Ema ad dekatale miktal. You have to kill him. In order, you have to kill a parent. So Gemara, sakadaytich, think about it. Katul chad b'sai, if a person's reitzeach gets what? Is chayiv herek. V'aviv b'chenek, and your father's going to get chenek, which is more kal. So frak the Gemara right away. Okay, that's only if you hold chenek is more kal. Anich laman the mechenek kal, laman the mechenek chomer, ma'ikal ameimer. It makes sense that if you kill a stranger, you're getting herek. But if you kill your father, you're going to get even more chomer the kamisa, which is chenek. Elam in the chsev, it says in the pasuk, Maka ish v'meis. Different psukim it says regarding Maka v'meis. So it says Maka, and then it has to say in the pasuk explicitly that he died. Maisumas v'chsev oy be'eva yiko biyadei v'yamos. Also, you have to underline davka misa shmamina kol heicha deika kostam without mentioning regarding misa lav misu. So the Gemara questions, why do you need to say Maka ish v'meis and Kol makanef. V'itzich lemiktav maka ish. V'itzich lemiktav kol makanef. Why? Because Rachmana maka ish v'meis. The first pasuk I'll tell you have him in ish. The bar mitzvah in dafka so on. Who's writing mechayiv mitzvahs katan by katan loy. Because Rachmana kol maka nefesh. So why do you need nefesh and then why do you need the first pasuk? Because Rachmana kol maka nefesh have him in a feeling a failing. What is the halacha if someone kills a nefil, a filu ben shmaina, or even someone who's not going to live? A ben shmaina is never going to live. Tzrichi needed to tell us nefesh and ish to tell us that a nefil is not chai for that. Maybe when a person hits his father, even if he didn't cause him a wound, it should be chai misa. Alomatanan. Then why did we learn amaka v'ima if someone who hurts his father and his mother ain't a chai but she has bem chabura? Amakra, the more answers it says maka adam. Make a dik. You have to clearly do a chabur d'chseba nefesh. Av maka adam. So too when a person hits his father or a person ad av chabur. I don't understand. Imagine you take an animal and you constantly overload him that he gets so weak. More than he gets weak, it has to be the mamish cause permanent damage, and now he's a shvach animal. Chayiv. And there's no chabura. So what are you talking about? So frak the Gemara lekesha lameli. Then why do you need bechlal this hekesh of maka adam lemaka behema? Since you're going to say you learn it from nothing, and the more answers to what? Lechadetanya de becheskit. So Gemara babakama that the halacha is regarding kimle be the ramine. That the halacha is when a person does something b'shoigeg, he's part of it at the shlumim. So nichlaman des letana bechizkiya, laman the leslay tana the bechizkiya kesha lamali, which is the machlekes and subas. Then what are you going to say over there? My answer is ma maka behem l'refuah. It's coming to tell us that maka adam l'refuah potter. What is the halacha if someone hits his own? If we're going to see his own father, but even if somebody else, a doctor causes a maka, he's potter. The boilu ben. What is the halacha of his son? Mal shiak is dam. Could he be let blood for his father love it? So Rav Masna Amar says, "V'hafta l'recha kamaycha." That what? Since it said "v'hafta l'recha kamaycha," that it's not a problem to do it for your friend and your father wants it. Rav Di B'chanina Amar Maka Adam Maka Behema. Ma Maka Behema is l'refuah potter. Av Maka Adam l'refuah potter. So it clearly says that it's not a problem for a son who's a doctor, even if he's not a doctor, to do a meiser for refuah. However, the Gemara says, "Rav l'shavik l'vrei l'mishkalei si lava." He didn't let him take out a thorn. Why? Because it could cause a chabura. To pop, to burn. Again, all these stuff could cause a chabura. Why? It sounds like that even today what we hold is that a son, shall not do to the father even though it's be'etzem mutter like we see from these maisim. I don't understand. What's the difference? Achanami. My answer is no. Regarding an acher, it's different. Acher shigas la b'noi. What is the halacha if he does it b'shoigig? Shigas chenek. V'hadetnan machat shel yad. Regarding a machat tana that you take out the soap godim. Rashi says the reason why it says machat shel yad because you could have something that you could open up doors, so we call it a yad. Lita b'sekaitz leichosh dilma chavel v'avle shigas skila. This is regarding Shabbos that a machat shel yad is muksa. No, but they were talking about skila misa. Hasa mekalkolu. There it's mekalkol. So, frak the Gemara, nichel aman da'am mekalkol potter. We all know mekalkol is potter mechilul Shabbos. And aman da'am mechayev Michael amen because this is the discussion melechas machshavas. My answer is man Shabbos leidam mekalkol b'chabur chayev. The only one who holds mekalkol b'chabur chayev is Rab Shimoni. Rab Shimon Amar kamalachas yitzichul gufa potter less. It's a catch 22. Manavshach is talking about regarding the mitzvah samita ben meis This when a person is trying to take out the beds out of Shabbos, it's mekalkal, it's a melacha she'ein tzricha l'gufa. He doesn't need the mace. Therefore, he's potter. Therefore, again, the one who holds chayiv is Reb Shimon, and he's the one who says melacha she'ein tzricha l'gufa is potter. We're on the top of Pehei Amud Aleph, the top of the Amud. Boi minei Rav Sheshes. Ben, mao shiyaseh shliach la'aviv la'hakaisa l'kakalei. L'maisa, this is talking about, he pulls up the bezin, either we're talking about klal of nidoi or malchus, and he happens to be, the son he always either was a job or was not a job, but he was always the guy in bezdin. Now his father pulls up the bezdin, and the bezdin paskin, then you have to give him either malchus and either can he do it or not. So Amalei v'acher miyatur, I don't understand the shayla. The Rav Sheshes says, why is it different than a stranger giving malchus? Elamai, ela kvoit shemayim adav. Shachanami kvoit shemayim adav. What's the difference of ben or acher? They both have in the Torah. You're not allowed to hit a friend. We're going to see this a little cryptic. This sounds like a shliach bezdin. Mitzvah shaloi lakaisa still is not allowed to whack him more than what he's allowed. Which we're going to say is like a son that's not allowed to win a shliach bezdin. Ain't a dinsh mitzvah shaloi lakaisa isn't a kal v'chaimer that he can't give him more malchus. So my love, this is how we're teaching it. B'makam mitzvah, we're teaching as a shliach bezdin. Ha b'bnoi. And the way we're reading it is the person, which is a shliach bezdin, can't be maka yoiser kol shekeinei ben. That is mitzvah shaloi lakaisa when he's a shliach bezdin. He can't whack him more. So what do you see from here? We're bringing a raya against Rav Sheshes. Why you, Rav Sheshes, is saying that a son could be a shliach bezdin? We clearly see from this brayso not. The Gemara says no. Like this is how you read it. Kan b'makom mitzvah, kan b'shaloi b'makom mitzvah. Achitani. Uma b'makom mitzvah means shemitzvah lakaisa your shliach bezdin. Still mitzvah shaloi lakaisa. You're not allowed to give him more malchus. Shaloi b'makom mitzvah. She'ein mitzvah lakaisa. For example, a son. Ain't a dinsh mitzvah shalei lakaisa. You know, that's partial. You can't give him yoiser, but avad that's not a raya against Rav Sheshes. Tashma. Let's try bringing a raya yoitzel harik. What is the halacha? On the way to get executed, we learned about this briefly. That they get executed, they immediately go into the place and they kill him. Suddenly, his son comes, ubabanai, and he's so upset at whatever his father did. His father lets his ball beat dice. So his ball his sister. He's so upset. No, beat his chorus. It's not a good case. But babanai v'hakol v'kilolai. Lamaisi he went, either it was mekalim or he whacked him, the halach is chayv. But if it's a stranger, what's the difference of son to somebody else is chayv? So Rav Chizda answers, we're talking about a shliach bezdin, that what he wants, he's not listening to them. So you clearly see that a shliach bezdin, when it's a son, is chayiv. So it's against Rav Sheshes. Maran says, no, Rav Sheshes is going to tell him that he's not listening. That's why he's chayv. Yachi acher nami. What's the difference of acher? Why? So if anything, it's a right of Sheshes that a ben is also yachi acher nami. Why is the acher potter? Acher gaver katilu. Ein acher nami was listening. The guy is considered dead. V'am Rav Sheshes. For tomorrow, Rav Sheshes says, bisha yoshin umeis chayv. If a person embarrass somebody, he's a mace. Someone who's sleeping never wakes up. So regarding the busha, the only person who's mevayish comes out as the mishpacha, and you're still chayiv. Some more answers. We're talking about this not even shava pruta. That's why there's enough difference between a son. You get like so my pata, no, the kama pata means memaman. Frektimara mechlal, the b'nai is chayim maman, that can be, right? Because less than shava pruta, ela b'dinai, sachanami dinai. So in the time of the pata dama krav and nasi v'amcha leisar, that a person, we saw this by Hurdis in the beginning of Bavasra, that a nasi you cannot curse by isa ma'isa emcha. So ateinach klal, that we can understand. Hakol minolam. Right? Says the makshina hakol klal. Make a hekesh. Frektimar yachi b'noi nami. Right? Says damar pinchas b'shal ashat tshuva. Frektimar, you tell me the father did tshuva. Hachnami ashat tshuva yachi ache nami. So why is he potter? Amari be'imcha ba'amcha b'mekuyim. Someone who's royalist kayim, not a guy who's nigmadinish ba'amcha yachi b'noi nami. Why is his son not chayit? My answer is midi dahavel achem misa. It's no difference than what somebody's what that we learn it out. He's ready chayit misa. So my have Allah. What is taka the halacha? Rav Huna v'chitana the Beis Yishmael. One pehim beis lechol ein ben as l'shlich la'avel la'kois v'klayla chutz. except mimesis. After somebody instigates the Avodah Zarah, Amar Torah lo sachmo, don't have rachmanis lo sachasa Allah, we shouldn't cover him. The Hainu, we have no rachmanis of such a person, and we are going to do anything and everything for a mesis. So it comes out lamaisa. We clearly, just to make a quick sikum, we saw someone is yaitzel laharig uba acher ubnoi vikhiko viklaloi. If it's bnoi is chay, if it's acher is potter. If Chizda wants to say acher is a shliach bezdin, that's when the standing your potter. Bnoi cannot be a shliach bezdin, that's where you chayv. That's Rav Chizda. Sheish is going to tell us bnoi be'etzem could be a shliach bezdin. So why is the bnoi chayiv and acher potter? So we saw 4 different mahalchim. One is, first of all, he's a gavra katilu, so therefore his son is chayiv, like we saw, even though he's a gavra katilu, is chayiv achamisa. For fact of sheshis, we see by the yashin yechayiv, so because of that we said pachas m'shavar pruta. Or we said, what do you mean? Pachas m'shavar pruta as malchus. So we try saying, oh, he's not doing mitzvahs. So if he's not doing mitzvahs, his son should also be potter. Therefore we want to say, the balbatish midi la'achar achamisa, since the Allah is someone who curses, his father could be dead, and he's still chayiv, and akah. So we learn Akkah, we're going to see in a moment Akkah, Rashi's Masbrai, by Kol Achamisi Potter. Rashi says it's Balbatish. The reason why a person who's Makkah of Lachamisa is because there's no Chabura, there's no Dam. He's dead. Mashenkin, a Gavra Katilu, Balbatish, I don't care if he's considered dead. Lamaisi, you're causing him Chabura. That's why Yechayv. Zok, the Heilige Mishnah. Hamake of v'imay nechayv achi yasa b'm Chabura. You have to do Chabura. Zeh chaymer b'makal. B'mamaka. Why? Shemakal lachamisa is chayv. Nothing to do Chabura. But again, like we're just saying, the chabura leka, it's more of a balbatisha point than when the father's dead, there's no chabura. Tana Rabbana says in the pasuk, Aviv ve'imoi kilo. It says ki ish asher yikalos avis ima maisumas aviv ima kilo damabay. So la'acher misa. Shiyachal ayu l'chayv v'maka v'chayv v'makalo. And what? We're making a diak. Ma maka n'chayv l'machayim. I will tell you af makalo n'chayv l'machayim. And that we're saying, no, avim akil la'achamis. Avoid, I'll make a kavachaymer. Uma maka sha'asabay. Shaloi ba'amcha kava'amcha de'yachayv l'chayv l'achamisa. And we still know. De'yachayv l'achamisa. Makalo shaloi asabay shaloi ba'amcha kava'amcha. In addition, l'chayv l'achamisa. Tamalaymar, it says in the pasuk, avim akil l'achamisa. So correctly more. He has extra the pasuk of V'imoi. El Rabbi Yesher, which we're going to see in a moment, he doesn't have it. Michael Amemar, the Tanya, it says in the pasuk ish. So why does it say ish? On that, we're going to see, Rabbi Yesher is going to say, you know why it says ish? Le Rabbe's ba, bas, a daughter, tumtum, v'adragonus. Tumtum, whether it's a tumtum, dragonus, or a zachas and a cave, so you're not sure. Yechayiv if you makal. Ashikal aviv es imoi. Eili ela aviv v'imoi. Daf, when you curse them together, av shal ima, ima shal av minai. Tamalai from the end of the pasuk, avi imoi, kilo, avi kilo, ima kilo, div Rabbi Yeshua. So according to Rabbi Yeshua, you clearly have extra drasha. Rabbi Yonas Amar, mashmash nem ka'acham, mashmach av ne'atzmai. Achi parut akasav yachtov. So for the mora minole. So according to Rabbi Yeshua, Michael Amemar, my answer is nafkalei me umekalo av v'imai maisiumas. Vidach, he needs a who violate the Rabbis bas. Tum chavar dragonus. For the mora v'tepklei. Why does he learn it now from Ishish? Answers he learns a dibber Torah kelashim b'nei adam. Zok the Heilige Gemara v'lisni chayme b'makah b'makal. Why shall makah asabay shalei ba'amcha keva'amcha shem kemakal? My answer is no, because makshinon, we do make a hekesh, hakah leklala. We make the hekesh, not a problem. Zok the Heilige Gemara le mehani tanoi kahani tanoi. Let's try to say that this machlekes tanoim is also machlekes somewhere else. Why? That here we're saying chayme b'makah she'asabay shaloi ba'amcha kamach. And we're going to say ma makah she'asabay. Dahainu, let's see this. Lei mahani tanoi kahani tanoi. The tani chada kuti atem mitzvah l'kaisa vi atem mitzvah l'kalas. What is the halach of a kuti? The halach is you're allowed to curse him, you're not allowed to hit him. V'tani idach, we have a second brayse that says I atem mitzvah lo kalasa v'lo kalasa, you even allowed to hit him. Savura the kulam, everyone's going to hold what kutim are geira emesim. Right? We have a shayla that came from they got lions, they got scared, and they became geir. That what everyone holds the etzem the good geir. So my love, b'hakamifkli. Marsava, the second brayse is going to say makshina kol klala, and therefore it's mutter to hit them. Marsava, the first brayse, le makshina kol klala, therefore it's also to hurt them. Mine says like the kulam le makshina kol klala v'hacha b'hakamifkli. Marsava kutem are geirei emes. Hey, this is the first brayse. Umarsava kutem geirei roya saying since the geirei is allowed to do a kol v'klala. Ihachi frek Gemara, Haini Diktani Allah v'Shoyra Kisrael. This is Gemara Baba Kama, where it discusses, we all know the chiluk between a shar with tam and a muad. If a shar tam is mazik, a shar shal Yisrael, if it belongs to a guy, the halach is always chayim nezik shalim. Masha'en kain, a shar that hits a guy yapater. And we said, what is the halacha regarding a shar v'kuti? We said it has the halacha of Yisrael. El shmami no, you have no choice but to say bekesha pligi shmami no. We can't say it's a machlekes of kutim geir emes a geir rayis. Zok tehelig a mishnah magoynev nefesh Yisrael ein a chayiv until what? Achich nesel reshusay. It's almost like today, in order to be considered federal kidnapping, you have to cross state lines. Right? Same type of kinds. You have to bring him to Yerushus. We're going to see why from the psukim. Rav Yehuda achich nesel ad shech nesel reshusay. You have to bring him to Yerushus. V'yishtamish by. You have to use him. Shenam, like it says, v'samer boy umachri. You have to use him and sell him. Hagoynev es benoi. What is the halacha? Someone who kidnaps his own son. Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Yechim Rekha mechayiv. It's machlekes v'chachamim paitrim. What is the halacha? Gana misha chetze eved v'chetze ben chayrin. For example, you have two shutvim, and one of the shutvim was what? Was mishacher the eved. So now he's a chetzi. The halacha is Rabbi Yehuda mechayiv v'chachamim paitrim. Rabbi Yehuda's mechayiv and the chachamim are paitrim. We're going to see this in a moment a little better, extensively, the machlekes. Zaktik Mar right away. For Tanakama loy ba imer, the Tanakama doesn't eat shimash. What do you mean? It clearly says in the pasuk v'samer boy. Amar v'acha berei the Rava imor pachas b'shaver pruta ika benayu. The Tanakama is going to say chayiv. You know why he doesn't say v'samer boy? To tell us even less the shaver pruta chayiv. But Rabbi Yehuda is going to say v'samer boy. Dafko when it's the shaver pruta, that's when you're chayiv. Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah, gonvoy umachroi. The guy kidnaps and he steals him. Yashin mao or machar while he's sleeping. Or machar isha leubra. You're only stealing the fetus mao. So do we say it's usage or not? Yesh derech imer bekach or ein derech imer bekach. Frak demara v'tebel lek imer klal. Forget about if it's normal or not. How are you using somebody that's sleeping or an uber? My answer is lights richa yashin dezagele. You leaned against this person sleeping, so you used him. Isha de ukma ba'ape zika. You use the body. It's a little interesting. The chiddush, they're using the uber. That's you can say it's her guf. But since she's bigger, using against the wind. So this is the shaila of derech ima b'kach or ein derech ima b'kach. What is the halacha mai on that we blibe with the teku? Taner Rabban says in the pasuk. It's a pasuk in the Dvarim Chav Dalet. Says we have two psukim regarding kidnapping. One is in Shemait, just to give a little concept. It says a little context. It says in the pasuk in Shemait, Torah brings down pasuk 8. V'goynev ish, you steal a person. Umecharei. So v'goynev is a lashon, just a regular plural. It doesn't say who's stealing. V'goynev, a regular person, is stealing a man. So it could be a female. It could be anybody that's stealing a man. Then we have another pasuk. It says, it's a pasuk in Devarim. Ki motzei ish goynev. So it says a man that kidnaps a nefesh. Nefesh can be anybody. So now Zok Gemara as follows. Taner Rabbanan. Ki motzei ish goynev nefesh machiv ein li ish. It says ki motzei ish. That's when the man kidnaps. Ein li ish goynev ein li ish. How do you know shegoynev isha minayit? Tamalayma says v'goynev ish. Says v'goynev anybody kidnaps. Doesn't make a difference. Ish, ein le ish gana ben isha ben ish. We know regarding a man, it doesn't make a difference who he kidnaps from the two psukim. The isha regarding isha, when then your pasuk coming from the pasuk in Shema, it's a v'goynev, the isha shagan v'ish, because it says v'goynev ish. That means that isha ten ish. But isha shagan v'isha minayin. If you look in the psukim, it never anywhere says regarding an isha that kidnaps an isha. So how do you know Allah is yichai tamalayim? It says who meis haganev ahu. This is the pasuk in Dvarim mikol mak. Tani idach. You have another brayse, kimatze ish goynev. It says in the pasuk. This is again, kimatze ish goynev nefesh me'echov mibnei Yisrael. So it says in the pasuk in the Varim, kimatze ish goynev nefesh me'echov. That means echad a goynev ish, whether it's a goynev ish, whether it's a man. The echad a goynev isha. The echad whether it's a ger, be'echad or evet. Doesn't make a difference. The echad, the evet, meshucher. What echad ev meshucher? V'katan. All this halach is yichayv. Gonvoy v'loy machri. What is the halacha? You just kidnap the guy, but you don't sell it. Or machroi v'adayin yeshnu b'shusa, you sold him, and the ma'isi didn't leave your shus yet. The halach is pater. Machroi la'aviv, you sell it. You sell it back to who? To the father of the victim. Or la'achiv, to the brother of the kidnapped of the victim. Or la'echem and akravim. The halach is yichayv. Hagoynev es havadim. Someone who steals an eved pater. The halach is your pater. Well, on the top, Hivav Aleph Tani Tana Kamei Dav Sheshes. They said this price of the chase Amalani Shine. This is how I learned Reb Shimon. When it says clearly in Torah, Ki Matzah Ish Goyna Nefesh Me'echov At Yitzena Rishus Achid. You have to remove him from Rishus. V'at Amrit Chayiv. How could you tell us a person's Chayiv if he's taking it from what? You're telling us that you sold it to his brothers. You have to read a potter. Fraktamar my kusha mechatesi. Dil mahar Reb Shimon. That says Chayiv. Har when we said earlier potter har Rabbanan. Mar says you can't say this. Now it's very clearly where we're talking about kimatz issues in the Mishnah Torah. It's in Devarim. So Stamas Nisan Rameir, Stam Tesefter Reb Nechemia, and Stam Sefra Reb Yehuda, and this is the underline. Stam Sefri, which is what we're talking about over here, is Reb Shimon. So we're saying over here Stam Sefri, V'Kula Liv Derekiva. So we have no choice but to say it's Reb Shimon. So therefore, how could you say Chayiv? Elamai, you have to read it as Potter. Hagoynev es Benoi. We saw in the Mishnah regarding Agoynev es Benoi. That's a Machlekes, Rabbi Shmuel, and Chachamim. If you Chayiv, Potter. Chachamim say you Potter. Rabbi Shmuel says you Chayiv. My time of the Rabbanan the Potter. Amma Abaya Damakra says in the pasuk, Ki Yimotzi Prat. If he's already found, then Motzi. So we already know a son is already found. What are you going to do with the pasuk where it talks about Znos? Says Ki Motzi Ish. Shaychiv Misha Bulas Bal Chanami Ki Motzi Prat Lemotzi. What is the halach in a case where it's common to live together? Kagon Shal Beis Pliny the Shchichan Gabayu. There was a family. Rashi says there was a chashuv mishpach. You have to know how you could call them chashuvin. Right? It's a little interesting if they weren't lay, hayu naigin kadas, but Rashi says they were still chashuvin. The mice, they lived in one big bungalow colony. Sounds like Rashi clearly said they didn't do yichud chas v'shalom. But the nashim were matzai. You're going to tell me that you potter? Hachinami, ki matzai prat la matzai can go to Beis Pliny, the shchichin abai, chanami de p'tir, avadanat. I'm coming from the second pasuk of Shemais, the end of a nimtza b'yada kamina. I'm Rav Hilkach. Therefore, hani mikra didaka. These are Rabbeim. Umasner Rabbanan kamitzum b'yada dami. The talmidim are always there. They consider matzah, and therefore, if they kidnap, p'tiri in their pot. We saw the end of the Mishnah regarding chetzi evet chetzi b'chayrin. Review the mechayev v'chacham and paiter. Ganav mi shechetzi v'chulei. Tanan hasam. It's a Mishnah Baba Kama. Reb Yehuda Imer in lavodim baishas. Ever doesn't have baishas. My time do Yehuda. Amakra. He comes from the pasuk. It says when people are fighting, ki natzu anashim yachtov ish v'achav, a man with his brother. Then we clearly see the halach is yichayv over there. Misha ish la'achva yatsa evet. Ever shein la'achva doesn't have brotherhood. Rabbanan when argue, Rabbanan say no achiv hu b'mitzvos. V'acha heichi dar Yehuda. For more, what's Rav Yehuda going to say over here? Savar ma'achiv la'fuke avodim. When it says in the pasuk, ki matzeh ish goyim nefesh me'achiv, it's la'fuke avodim. Then the pasuk says, "Min bnei Yisrael." It's coming what the mutim ishachetzev v'chetzev chayrin. So therefore, you clearly see a chayiv. So why does it really say potter? You know why? Because it says, "Mi bnei Yisrael." Lemutim ishachetzev v'chetzev chayrin. Having miat achamiat, and we all know vein miat achamiat elul rabbis. That's Rabbi Yehuda is going to hold you chayiv because he has two miutim. However, Rabbanan is going to hold you potter because they only have one miut. Rabbanan ma'achiv lafuk avodim lemashmelahu. Why? Da'achiv mitzvahs. And bnei Yisrael chat is l'mutei aved. V'chal l'mutim mishachetz aved v'chetz b'chayrin. So it clearly tells us that what we only have separate miutim. We don't have a miut achamiut, and therefore you are going to be potter. Azara legoynif nefesh minayin. Where do you know that Azara? We all know in order to be chayiv something you have to have Azara. Rabbi Yishayim and Melai Signoif. It clearly says in the pasuk. If you look at the pasuk, it says loy sertach. You should not murder. Loy sinaf. You should not do znos. Loy signaf. Rabbi Yechonam Melai Yimachru Memkras Loy Yimachru Memkras Eved, because it's talking about Kavoidaim. That she Tzeisi Oisam Eretz Mitzrayim. It's a pasuk Yichavei Membeis. And Zok Degmar V'Lei Pligi Mark Chashuv Lav Degneva Mark Chashuv Lav Demechira. So turn our bonnet. So let's go back. We clearly just said loy signaf. How do we know he's loy signaf? Two options. Can either talk about stam stealing, or can be talking about nefashos. Begoin nefashos because of adaber. So mechatesi. Atom begoin nefashos. Oh yeah, no begoin moment. Amart it say lamam mishleshes remidish attorney dashes man. Dover halamin min yonoi. B'ma because of adaber. Let's look at the context of the pasuk. If you look at the pasuk, it says loy sertzach. What's murder? Nefashos. Loy sinif is also not din nefashos. Shon is mizana with the neshes is chayim misa. Therefore, it comes to tell us dover halamin min yonoi. Ma because of adaber nefashos. Avkam nefashos. Tani idach. We have another brayse that says, "Loy tikkun over there." They're coming from the pasuk of Vayikra Yatas Yud Aleph, where it says you should not steal. V'lei sechashuv, v'lei sechakru ish b'misay. Zok Gemara, begonim mamana kasem adaber. I told me mechateis talking about mam. Begonim mamana inam begonim fashus amarta tzelama mishloshis amidas shatoin and dashes b'hem. Davar halamin min yanoi. Again, what is the pasuk talking about over there? In Vayikra Yatas Yud Aleph, there it's talking about clearly stealing. It's talking about mammon. b'mammon afkan. When it says like tiknaivu, it means b'mammon. What is the halacha with Eidei Gneva ve'Eidei Mechira shehozmu? Itmar Eidei Gneva ve'Eidei Mechira b'nefesh shehozmu. What is the halacha? The Chai Misa not. Chizkiah wants to say it's Machlekes Chizkiah and Reb Yochanan. Chizkiah amein aragim, Reb Yochanan aragim. Chizkiah is going to say why? Damar Kerbekiva. We learned this. Damar davar v'loi chetzi davar. We saw this regarding a naira in order to get shtei cyrus. What is the halacha? There's one side in the front, one side in the back. There's no such a thing. It says in the Torah, Yilay Yakum Eid Echad, we all know, Apish Naim Eidim, Apish Leishem Eidim, Yakum Davar. The Eidim need to give a full testimony. They can't give a half-baked Eidus. So over here, it's considered a Davar, V'loi Chetzi Davar. So you need to have both. And therefore, Chizkin is going to say you're not getting killed because you're only given Eidus and a Chetzi Davar. So what are we talking about? Two sets of Eidim. One set comes about the Gneva, the other set comes about the kidnapping, the Mechira. So Zok, Chizki, you're not going to get killed. However, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Karabanon, Da'amri Davar v'filu chetzi Davar, it's not a problem, and therefore you're chayiv. Umay de Chizkiya be'edim achreinu shel ben Soyer umayr. Now we learned earlier, this Gemara in Ein Aleph, that we said the halacha ben Soyer umayr doesn't get killed right away. It says v'Yisrael, so we first give Malchus, and only after a few times we're not listening, we're going to kill him. So the halacha is the first Eidim that said ben Soyer umayr only gets Malchus, he's not going to get killed. But the last trigger Eidim, Avad is going to get killed. Chizki is Maida be'edim achreinu shel ben Soyer umayr shows mushen eragan. Why? Mitoich shichayin lai marishayin, and the Rishonim could say one peivav base. That what? La kaisei banu. We clearly only came to give them ben Soyer umayr Malchus adarabo. We tried scaring him. We wanted him to get Malchus, but Avad we had no tzad to kill him. V'hani achrini kula davar kav delay. They're doing a full davar. You can't say it's a chetzi davar. Maskiv lo rapapi yachi ed mechir nami. Why can't they say lik delay? We wanted to kill him. Why is it different by the what? By the gneva. The chitem you're going to tell us the chitzkels you don't get malchus. That can be the chitzkel lo laki va'itmar edei gneva benefesh shehuzmu. And then we saw machlekes chizkel Rabbi Yochanan chadam alaykim chadam alaykim. V'armin we said that chizkel says likin. Why to stand the chizkel dam alaykim and dam chizkel ein erogin. Dear Rabbi Yochanan, keep them in Erogin, have a lav, shenitan Lazarus Mrs. Bezdin, v'cholav, shenitan Lazarus Mrs. Bezdin, and like in Allah. So Zaktamar, Iluloi lucky, the kidnapper's not going to get Malchus, the Edom Zom can't either get Malchus. Inu, Hechi lucky, Elamite, the Edom Zom get Malchus. Huadin, he's also going to get Malchus. So we clearly see that Chizki is going to hold that they get Malchus. Elamar Rapapa is going to give a teretz, but Me'ed Mechira Azai. Regarding the Eid Mechira, the Kulam Alei Pligi, then Arogin. They deserve to get killed. So where's the Machlekes? The Ki Pligi Be'eid Gneva. Chizki Amin Arogin. Why? Because Gneva L'chuda. You separate the Gneva Kayama. Mechira L'chuda Kayama. They have a time of the Eid Gneva can say, we only wanted to give him Malchus. We weren't doing anything else. But the Eid Mechira have no choice but to be Moeded that what? He's Chayiv Misa for kidnapping. Rabbi Yochanan Amin Arogin. Because why? Even the Gneva, because Gneva is chalta the Mechiri, it's considered that what? It's a chelak of the Mechir. Umayder Rabbi Yochanan be'edim arishayna shem ben Soyer umayr shehuzmu shein erogin there mitech shechayin laimar la kaisiban. Amar Abai kol maidim ben Soyer umayr that what? They don't get killed. Kol maidim ben Soyer umayr that they do get killed. And then we're going to see is also machlekes ben Soyer umayr. Hakol maidim ben Soyer umayr the be'edim arishaynim regarding the first edim shein erogin mitech shechayin laimar la kaisiban. We can't think of the malchus. Vakol maidim ben Soyer umayr be'edim achreinu shein erogin mitech she'edim arishaynim yechayin laimar kaisibanu. Therefore, v'hanid tukule davar kav delay. Therefore, the chayim malchus, the chayim misa. Then where's the machlekes? Ben Soyer umayr shnayim ifneinu ganav v'shnayim ifneinu aimrim achal. There's a shayla. How do you look at it? Do we say if you hold like Rabbi Kiva, you're not going to get killed? According to Rabbi Yochanan, that says you get killed is what is really machlekes Rabbanon and Chizkiah. If it's a chetzi davar or not. Amar of Asi, Eid Mechira benefesh shehuzmu ein erogin. You know why? Mitoich sheyachal loymar avdi mecharti. All I said was that he sold him, but he didn't sell him. And mechatesu was a kidnap. Amar Rabbi Yossi kaman ozlo shmeister of Asi Rabbi Kiva davar lechetzi davar. Amar labai dikar Rabbanon nerogin. Hamitoich kamer elafilu temer Rabbanon but delay asu esig de belay asu eid gneva the eid gneva never came. Yachi meilam memra. Well, then what's the chiddush? Even though the Eid Mechira came after, the Eid Gneva came after the Eid Mechira. Remember, what's the chiddush? Why would I think otherwise? They gave a hint to the Eid Mechira that the Eid Gneva are hinting them, we're here also, we're going to also give Eidus about it. Now the Tamer Remuzim Milsi. Kamash Malon, the Maisa, the Eid Mechirainim could say, the Eid Gneva could say, Eid Mechira could say. We had no clue that Eid Gneva are going to come. Remuza Lav Klum. Okay, let's see the Mishnah. Zakein Mamre Al Pi Bezdin. In order, the halacha for Zakein Mamre has to be Al Pi Bezdin. Shenamar, like it says in the pasuk, Ki Pole Mimcha Davar LeMishpat. If you have something hidden from you, a matter of judgment. So it's a Zakein Mamre Al Pi Bezdin. Shloisha Bate Dinin Oy Yoshev Sham. There was 3 different Bezdins. Echad Yoshev Al Pesach Harbayis. Rashi says it was by the Shar Mizrachi. Before that was this Nashim. Ve'echad Yoshev Pesach Hazara, and then you had another Bezdin on top of it by the Pesach Hazara. Ve'echad Yoshev, the best one, the Supreme Court we call it, was Belishkas Agazis. The other 2 had 23 dayanim, and the Belishkas Agazis is 71. Bayin Lezesh Ala Pesach Harbayis. They first went, this is talking about the Zakein Mamre, they first went to the Harbayis. V'amakach Darashi v'kach Darshu Chaverai. Ekach Limati v'kach Limdu Chaverai. So if they have a tradition, what the halach is, they go up, they appeal, they go to the next court. And the same thing happens again. Again, im shamu amru lahem v'im la ve'elu ve'elu b'in lebezin. Hagadol shebelishkas hagazir shemeni yotzei tayr lebezin gadol shebelishkas hagazir shemeni yotzei tayr l'chol Yisrael shenem like it says min ha'malkom ahu asher yivchar Hashem ad kan that he got his psak. So what happens afterwards? How did he get the Zakein Mamre? He went mamish l'ishkas hagazis chazal right. This Zakein goes back to the city. Shana v'li mikadech shayalamed. If he just did what he was doing, potter. Vim hayr. However, if he commands his city to do X, Y, Z against what? Against the Lishkas Agaz, against what he passed chayiv. Shenema ve'isha sheyasev azadoin einoy chayiv until he gives a ra'ah at shir lasis. And the Mishnah finalizes with one concept, Talmud, which he doesn't have smicha, he's under 40 years old. Shahir lasis, even when he gives a ra'ah, he's potter. Nimtzah chumroi, which means he can't get smicha, is his kulai, because he can't become a Zakein Mamre. Tanu Rabbanan. Now let's go through this psukim. This is the daf we learned on Purim. Ki pale mimcha davar b'mufla shebemez b'bezdin akasim davar. Rashi says lafuke talmud. Mimcha, when it says mimcha, ze yayit. Someone, a person who knows the Ibra Chaydish. We're going to see this is why we brought Purim in the daf. V'cheinu aimer, we find this when it says in the pasuk mimsa. What's it say in the pasuk? Mimeich yatza. Chayshev al Hashem ra yayitz b'liyal. We're pulling out Rashi's masber. By yayitz we find the lashon mimeich from mimcha. That's mimech. Davar zu halacha. It's halacha l'mishpat Sinai. When it says l'mishpat, it's coming to tell us that din gzer shava. Bein dam ledam. When it says in the pasuk, when dam ledam comes to tell us all these halachas could have Zakein Mamre. We're going to see it's going to be 19 different halachas. Bein dam ledam means bein dam nida, whether it's dam nida, whether it's dam leda, you're arguing against the Zakein Mamre, arguing against Bezdin, whether it's dam ziva. Bein din ledim means bein din in the fashis. Din in Mamoinis or Din in Makas. We're going to see this. Bein Negel and Eka means Bein Nigei Adam, Nigei Batim, and Nigei V'gadim. We're going to go through this, all these saras and everything. We're going to see this by Arichis. When it says in the Pasuk, Divrei, Elu Acheramim, Va'erechin, Va'hagdeshus, whether it's the Cherim vows, the Erechin, or Hagdish. Rivais disputes Ashka, Saita, Va'rifas Egla, V'tahiris Mitzayr. B'sharech Nigei Zuleka Shechav Apel. The Kamta, it says in the Pasuk, that you should stand, mi bezdin. Means to get up from bezdin. V'alisam elam shabeis hamikdash was gavoyim Eretz Yisrael. The Eretz Yisrael is gavoyim kol haratzah. For ela makim, melam shamakim garim. However, if they're not in the makim, like we saw if they already left the place, we saw this in Yudal Amud Beis. It's where Taisa over their ass house, the Leishchiach. But Lamaisa, if they went away, then the halacha is they're not considered Zakein Mamre. So, effectively, my bishul, my base of Megdash Gavoyim Eretz Yisrael dechsev alisa. We understand that it's hard. El Eretz Yisrael gavoyim kol haratzah min olein. More answers dechsev. What does it say in the pasuk? Lochein hine yamim ba'im num Hashem chay Hashem hashehela. We're talking about Golos, but they go out. We brought them up from Bavel. Hashehela when they went up as Bnei Yisrael Eretz Mitzrayim kim chay Hashem hashehela v'shehevi zera Bnei Yisrael Eretz Safina, which is Bavel. Mikola ratzis asher yidachtem shami, they were driven away v'yasher sham al basam. So we clearly see that Eretz Yisrael is the highest. Tanu Rabbanan. Zakein Mamre ain't a chayiv. In order to become a Zakein Mamre, not chayiv. El al davash is doine kares. The shigur chatas divrei. We're going to see this for quite a while. It's come out the next blot and a half. this halacha of Rameir. Rameir is going to say, in order for Zakim Mamre to go against Bezdin, it has to be that we're discussing Karis. And if you do a B'Shkaga, you chayev a Chatas. That's Shitas Rameir, which we're going to go through extensively. Rav Yehuda Aimer al Davar she'ikr medivir b'Torah, even if it's ikr medivir Torah, Prushim medivir Seifrim. And Rav Shimon's the most cool of the Aimer. Filu dikduk echad mediduk Seifrim. So my time of the Rameir. First, what's Shen Rameir? Gomer Davar Ksiv Hacha says clearly regarding the Zakim Mamre ki Fale Mimcha Davar Lemishpat the Ksiv Asa. We're talking about the power, the Davar element at Tzibur when they made a mistake. V'nelam Davar me'ein akal Mala lon where we're talking about we chayiv a par Davar shes chayiv al doinoi. Kares val sugar chatas afkan Davar shechayiv al doinoi kares sugar chatas. So this shitas Rameir. Rabbi Yehuda says al pia Torah. Torah means explicitly. Asher Yerucha, even the Machshavas, even Rabbanan tell us, Adika Torah number 1, Vi Yerucha when the Rabbanan explain to you. Rav Shimon says, Asher Gilcha min hamakam ahu, afilu kaldu, even anything slightly that we learn. Amalei Rav Huna bar Chanina l'Rava. Tirgam li lahamas nisa liv dermer. Come explain to me our Mishnah of Zakim Mamre. We went through 19 different halachas that a Zakim Mamre could have it. Now we're gonna have to explain all 19. How it's possible that the Zakim Mamre goes against a psak of Bezdin, that if you're not going to listen to the Zakim, if you're not going to listen to Bezdin, you listen to Zakim Mamre, you chayiv kares. Amalei Rav Papa, part Tirgmalei, go explain to him. So he explains as follows: Ki fale mimcha, ki fale mufla shbezah kosem adavar. Again, talking about mumcha lamuti talmud. Mimcha ze yoyt sheyayde la'abar shanim. So this is what we saw on the top of the Amud. He has to know when to make an Iber Yar. Kedetnan. Now this is the Shaila. The halacha is, even today it's ready to get, it's ready after Purim. Can you do an Iber Yar? Now, when we have the Iber Yar, when do we do Purim? We do Purim the second Chodesh, Adar Beis. Now what's the problem? Where can we fall into a trap? The problem is that after Purim, right now, today and on, we should be learning Hilchos Pesach. Now they start to learn Hilchos Pesach. Pesach is in 30 days. What happens if you ma'aber the Shana? When is really Pesach? By Pesach Katan, the next month. It comes out in a month from now you can eat chametz. But in the following month, they don't know about it. The Aratzis, Arachaika, it's Rashi's Masber, the faraway lands, they don't know they did Eber Yar. They're going to eat chametz on the real Pesach. So what happens if, for example, the Bezdin Paskin, you don't do Iber Chodesh, or V'chein Lahepech, but the Zakim Mamre decides either to do Iber Chodesh or not do Iber Chodesh, Memonoshach. Either in a month from now it's Pesach, or the next month is Pesach. But the problem is, Monoshal, you have a worry that what? That they're going to eat chametz, either in 30 days or in 60 days. D'ilai gisa kashar chametz Pesach, or v'hilai gisa, whether you don't do Iber Yar or do Iber Yar, you have a problem, kashari chametz b'Pesach. And they were talking about something that's chayiv kares, so there's no shayla. Rashi says it's the machlokes, Reb Shua, Reb Paifis, if you do Iber Yar or not. Okay, so that's how it's negeya a Zakim Mamre. This is the case of number 1, where we discuss Purim, and we mamash learned this blood on Purim. Okay, the Tanan, Henedu Shem Abbas Hashana Kalada Sheimurim Ad Purim, the Elagisa Kashar Chametz Pesach, the Elagisa Kashari Chametz Pesach. Okay, this is number 1. We have 18 more to go. Davar. Zahalacha. We learned this earlier. Whenever it says davar, it means halacha Moshe Sinai. Where do we have halacha Moshe Sinai machlokes? Zuhilchos ach ad asara the itmar asiri. So let's give a little context. We all know regarding a zava. We're going to talk about zava. Now, if a person, there's the zava, there's a one-time zava ktana, and a ziva, a regular nida, she's tamei shivas yamim. Then she has a ziva for 11 days. We're going to be discussing number day 9, 10, 11. Now we all know if a isha has a zava once, it's a zava ktana. And what's a Zav Ktana? Loche Shemeres Yom, Keneged Yom. The next day, she has to make sure she's clean, and then she's fine. However, if it's a Zav Gdaila, which is 3 times, she comes like a Nida, she has to wait 7 Zayin Akim, and she has to bring a tzipor, she has to bring a bird. Now, there's a Locha L'Moshe Messina that the 11th day, you don't have the concept of Shemeres Yom, Keneged Yom. You don't have that. Now, there's a Shaila on the 10th day. That's a Machlokes. Do we look at the 10th like the 11th? That there's halacha Moshe Messina, which means there's 2 halacha Moshe Messinais. That's what comes out. There's a machlokes. Halacha Moshe Messinai. If you need to have shemeres kiyam keneged yom, do we look at the 9th day, which you do need, or the 11th day or not? So that's a machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Shimon Shlakish. Rabbi Yochanan is going to say the 9th day is mamash like the 9th day. Therefore, the 10th is like the 9th. You have shemeres yom. And Rav Shimon Shlakish say it's halacha Moshe Messina that what? That you don't need a shemeres yom keneged yom. So therefore, it's a machlokes. According to Rabbi Yochanan, you chayiv kares. because you're over on a Zava Ktani, he did Bia. So let's see it inside. The Itmar, Asiri, regarding the 10th day of Ziva, Rabbi Yechonah Asir Kachi, that what you have a Shemer Sam Keneged Yoim. Rabbi Shimon Shalakasham Asir Ka'achad Asar. Rabbi Yechonah Asir Kachi, Ma Chi by Shimer, Afasirni by Shimer. So again, if this Zakin Mamre decides not to go like Rabbi Yechanan, and he's matter, he's of a Ktana, so that's where you have cars. Mishpat, Zehadin, what's the Gzer Shava? We know regarding a Bitoi Ma'anusasai, regarding an Isha, we're in the Torah. It's not explicitly that if a person's mezaneh with his daughter from a wedlock, from Anusa, that Yechayiv. The Amar Rava and Peizayin and Beis, Amar Yitzchak, this is the famous Gzer Shava Rav Yumi Asya of Heina Asa Zima Zima. So again, if you're not Geiris this Gzer Shava, you hold a person, is Boil, is mutter to do with his Bas Aktana, with his Bas Menusasa. And again, that's another case of what? Of Kares. A daughter's Kares. Number 4, Bein Dam Ledam. We said it's Bein Dam Nida, Dam Leid, and Dam Ziva. So let's go through these next 3. What's these next 3? What is the halacha de Tnan? Dam hayarik. Dam hayarik means yellow. There's no green blood. What is the halacha of green? It's very negative. We're going Ksam Kavi ben Mahalo mitame. He holds it's dam nida. V'chachamim mitarin. So it's the same nakuda. What is the halacha if you see green dam? If she's a nida or not? That's chayiv kares. And Rashi's masber could even be a chumrah. For example, you see dam yarik on day 1 and dam nida on day 3. And so it depends. Are you matter on day 7? If you consider the dam yarik is dam nida, then after day 7, what is the halacha? She could do tashmish. But if you hold it's dam yarik is not dam nida, you have to wait another few more days. So again, these are, we all know, halacha b'el nida is chayiv kares. Case number 5, dam leida b'palukta de Rav Levi. What is the machlekes Rav Levi? There's my Rav Amar main echad hu atar timasav atar tirasa. There's a shayla we all know regarding, let's say, nekeva. Let's give the case of nekeva. The Rashi gives that case, not sure why, but he gives the case of nekeva 14, between the 15 and the 80 days. Now what is the halacha with dam? It's dam tahira. Now there's a machlekes, is it that the Torah decides the time is the dam tahira, dam tuma? Or is it the ma'ayon? It comes to separate mekaymis. What's the nafkamina? Nafkamina is if it continued flowing without a stop. If you hold it's a ma'ayon, 2 different ma'ayonos, you have no choice but to agree. There was no stoppage. And if there was no stoppage, it's clearly coming from the Ma'ayin Atameh. However, if you hold it has anything to do with Zman, then Avada, we're going to say that from day 15, it's Tar. So again, the Itmar Rav Amein, Achad vu Atar Timasav Atar Tirasa, it's Zman, V'leiv Amano, Shnei Ma'ayin saying, Nistam Atameh, Niftach Atar, Nistam Atar, Niftach Atameh, and like we said, the Nafkamina is when it continues flowing. And again, this Zakin Mamre is going what we paskin, and it's Boyol Nid, which is Chayiv Kares. Number 6. Dam Ziva, the case of Ziva, but look there, B'lezer B'Yeshua. The Tnan, there's a halacha of Ziva. Same halacha of Ziva as nafkamina is. We do know that the halacha is if a person has Ziva for 3 days, it's Zava G'dayla. However, if the Ziva is coming from labor, you're not considered a Zava. Now the shaila is, how do you know if it's from labor or not? So it's a machlekes if it's 24 hours, or it's like Shabbos, you need to have a night and a day that it stops. It says as follows. If she got relief from Ace 24 hours of Yalda, Harezu, you let this bezive the real Lazar. No, it's not considered Ziv. I'm a Laila V'Yom Kalel Shabbos. So we V'Yom Sheshavsim in a Tzar, we know V'Yom. Why Sheshavsim, the release is only in a Tzar, V'Lim in a Dam. And again, same nafkamina, Zav G'dayla, Zav Not, and there's Kares involved. Bain. Din ledin, we said din in mamaynas, din in fashis, and din in makas. What's the machlekes? Din mamaynas. This is number 7 already. Din mamaynas is a case of peluk de shmur. We all know the Amar Shmuel. We learned this at the beginning of the Masechta. Shnaim shedonu dineim din. Ela shenikru bezdin chatzav. Veravo Amar ledivri akol ein dineim din. So what's the case of whether it's a good din or not? The question is Rashi's mas, but the case of din mamaynas is the guy goes, takes the money. Is it stolen money or not? If it's a good bezdin like Shmuel, it's betzim a good din. You have a right to take the money you went in Mekad Shisha. And if you're Mekad Shisha, again, this is back to cases that are good nesuin or not. Is it kitcha begezel, not kitcha? All those cases. So what is the halacha? According to Shmuel, you're Mekudeshes. According to Avo, you're not Mekudeshes because kitcha begezel. We learned this, but kitcha begezel is not Mekudeshes. Now you can be considered a chorus. And again, this is not nafkamina of the Zakin Mamre. Dine nefashis peluk the Rebbe. Not Rabbana the Tani Rebbe. Aimer says v'nasata nefesh tachas nefesh moment. Atay mimama no nefesh mamash. The same thing we're going to do regarding the din of the Fashish, Rashi's Masber, that what happened was the Yarshim went and took the money b'chazaka. Now the Shaila is they took the money and they married Isha with that money. Again, l'Rabbana it's considered Gzela, so you have Karas involved. This Zaken Mamre decided to paskin not like Rabbanan, and therefore you had scenarios of people doing Karas. Dine Makas. What's the machlekes? Makas, but look, the Rishmal v'Rabbanan, the Tanan Makas begimel. Gimel. What's the case of Makas? Since we know it's a machlekes of Chav Gimel or not, according to Rabbanan, it's good enough Gimel. And what happened was they took, since the guy gave Malkus, let's say Shaloi Bedin, he got punished. So Bezdin took away money. And now with that money, he went, there's Mekadesh Isha. Again, it's all boiling down to me Mekadesh Isha if you chayiv kares, if it's stolen money or not. Bein nega l'nega, bein nega adam, negei batim, and negei b'gadim. Negei adam, peluk the Rishuv Rabbanan. What's the machlekes? The Tanan, in Baharis, you have a white spot, Kaidim l'seir lovan, everyone agrees to tummy. Im seir lovan, Kaidim Baharis, if the 2 hairs before the white spot tar. What is the halach if it's a suffix? Tamei Rabbi Shua Mekea, which you're going to see that means faint. My Kea Merava Kea Tar. So what's the machlekes? The machlekes is someone who has saras. According to Abanan, if a person goes into the Mikdash Shechayiv, a chorus, and according to Rabbi Shua and again, this Zaken Mamre, what did the Zaken Mamre do? He paskin that it's kosher, even though, and then the guy went into the base of Mikdash because he paskin like the Zaken Mamre, and therefore Yechayiv chorus. That's a case of negei adam. What's a case of negei batim? Look, the Rebbe Lezer Rishimon, Rabbanan. The Tanan, we learned this on Ayin Aleph. Rebbe Lezer Rishimon, Ayin Lo'olam and Abayis Tameh. We said over there, it's not impossible to have tzaras. We do it for schar. We learned this. Ein Abayis Tameh. Achir kishnei grisen. Grisen is like the size of a bean. 36 hairs could grow in it. Al shtei avanim and 2 stones. B'shtei ksalim b'karen zavis. An ark needs to be kishnei grisen. V'rach b'kigris. My time, what's trying to Rebbe Lezer Rishimon? The ksiv comes from the pasuk ksiv kir. The ksiv kirais eze kirshu kir. Sabayim is a karen zavis. But let's go to the point. What's the point? The shaila is if you have a karen zavis. Let's say it's not in a karen zavis. According to Rabbanan, it's considered tzaras. According to Rebbe Lezer Rishimon, it's not considered tzaras. Again, so according to Rabbanan, you chayiv, because you have tzaras, a person goes into the house, then goes into the base of Mikdash, you chayiv karis. Negeb gadim, bipeluk, the Yainisan, we're up to number 12 already. Ben, avtalumos, v'Rabbanan, the Tani, Yainisan, and avtalumos, I'm in 9, where do we know, what has the halacha regarding pricha begadim shita hayra? One pechesem out, the final daf, suddenly erupts. So the halacha is, when it erupts on an adam, suddenly his whole body becomes fully tar. The shaila is by beggar or not. Nema karachas, vigabachas ba'adam, and nema karachas v'gachas b'gadim. Ma lahalom perach b'kulei tar, afkam parach b'kulei tar. Again, this is the shaila according to Abani Yotami. So if you go into the base Mikdash, you're chayiv, and according to Abyanis and Potter, in all these cases we have to keep the zaksim cheshbon. That the Zaken Mamre said it's mutter and inechanami be'etzem bezdin paskin that you are chayiv. Okay, we're on Daf Pei Chesem at Aleph. We're up to case number 13. Divrei, when it says in the pasuk, ki pale mimcha, it says divrei. Elu, which is the erichin, the valuation of charam v'akdeshes. Erichin, what's the shiloh when a person says he's given the erich? Peluk der mei rabbanon. The tnan hamarich pochos mi ben chaydish. Now, a person under chaydish, there's be'etzim no shiloh, there's no erichin. However, what's the machlekes? Rabbanan, Rav Meir Aymer nice and dumb. Rav Meir holds, ain't all the mighty dvar levatala. You know that a person under 30 is what? Under 30 days is worthless. Elamai, you're doing it for a regular person. There you're for Yechayiv Erechim, Chamayim, lo yamar klum. So where's the case that you have a problem with kares? So Rashi's masber in a case, either you married a woman with that money, or me'ila. 2 balbatish case in such a case where there's kares, if you're mekadeshes or not, or me'ila b'chlal, if it's possible to have me'ila with this money. HaCharamim, the vows, look the Rav Yehuda, b'misei Rabbanan Tanan, Rav Yehuda Spitz, stam Charamim is lebedek abayis, nafkamin is meila. Shenamri coming from pasuk, kocherim kaidish kaidishim l'Hashem. V'chachamim, no, stam Charam is lekayin, it's not again meila. Again, you have to keep the zak sim cheshbon, the flow. The Zaken Mamre is going against the Isser. He's saying it's mutter. Shenamri kasta'acherim lekayin tiachusasem gematam laim kaidish kaidishim l'Hashem. Shechal akachi kachim ba'akachi kal. Hekdeshos, how do you have hekdesh? But look there, Rebbe Lezer Yaakov Rabbanan the Tnanya. Rebbe Lezer Yaakov Ayim Afilu Tzinaira Shel Hekdesh. Even the spinning fork of gold Shel Hekdesh. Tzricha Sar B'nei Adam Lefdaisa. You need 10 people opposed to 3. Nafkamina is again Lemeila. And according if you over Meila or not. Rivais Zashkai Saita Varifas Egla V'Tahairos Mitzayra. What's the cases? Let's go through them. Hashka Saita, people looked up as a Ribishua, the Tanan, Hamekana Lish, someone gives kinoi to his wife, what? Regarding a Saita, you cannot be with such a person. Blaza Mekana Pishnaim, you have to do the kinoi with two. Umashke, the Hashka is good enough, even al Pi Edechad, al Pi Atzma, even he himself can say, I saw the Yichud happening. Ribishua argues, Ribishua, I'm a Mekana al Pishnaim, you have to do kinoi, Umashke al Pishnaim. And what's the halacha? She says, I'm not drinking. So usually, if she's mechoyet to drink and she says she's not drinking, she loses the schus of ksuba. And Rashi's masber, someone bought her schusim, and then he went, right? This is a shayla, and he took the money of her ksuba, and he married someone with that money. So again, it boils down to nisuin, if it's a good kedushin or not. So you have cars involved. Another case is rifas egla. What's the shayla of rifas egla? Look, the Belezer Kiva the Tanat. Now, what is the halacha when you're not sure the bodies between the two cities? Me'ena yimaydin. You have to mamish take a tape measure and count where the body is. Rabbi Lezer, I'm a tibura from the navel. Kiva I'm a chaytman from his nose. Rabbi Lezer, I'm a makom shenase chalol. Where does it become a mace? Mitzavarai. So where's the nafkamina regarding a egla, a rufa? How is it really possible to have a egla, a rufa? It's the same type of shayla. In this case, we took the egla, a rufa, if someone's mekadesh with this egla, a rufa is mukadeshes and not. This is where, again, the nafkamina, where you can have karis or not. Another case is mitzayra. What's the case of mitzayra? Tyrus mitzayra. People looked up Shimon Rabbana, the Tanan, Ein lahen bayin yad rag. It says in Torah, you have to give him the thumb or the ear or the foot. Ein lahen bayin yad, the guy has no thumb. Or bayin regel, he's missing his thumb or his foot and his thumb. Eizin imanis or his ear. Ein lahen tahar elamis, he can't become tar. So according to the Shita, if he goes to the Bais Medrash after he does this, after he does the procedure like Rabbi Lezer, he's chayiv. Rabbi Lezer, I mean, no, nice makami yaitzer. Shimon, I mean, nice, I shall smell the yaitzer. So again, this is nafkamina. According to the Chacham, he never had to hire. And he went to the Bais Medrash because he listened to the Zaken Mamre. Leket, what's the case? All these cases is going to go and be mekadesh isha with this money. The shayla is if it's stolen or not. Leket the Tanan. Shnei shibol, and a person has two ears. Leket shleisha. Leket shleisha ain't a leket. Shecha shnei aimrim. Shecha shleisha einon two sheaves and three einon shecha. Vakulam b'sham aimrim shalosh lani. Again, the same nafkamina. If he went like Beisham, the Balbais goes and takes some Mekadesh Isha if he can be Mekadesh or not. Peya, Peluk Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbanan Tanan, Mitzvah Spei Lafish Min Hakama. Lo Hifish Min Hakama, if not from the standing, Yafish Min Aimrim, from the sheets. Lo Hifish Min Aimrim, Yafish Min Akri, from the pile. Actually, Merchay. Merchay, once he did, smoothed it, Ma'isiv and Isolim. Shmuel Aimir, Afmafrish Mina Isa. So again, this Ani goes from the Isa and Mekadesh Isha. Nafkamina again, if it's Gzela, all these cases, it comes out, I think, to 20 different scenarios. Gimel, but the dinim b'chulam. Arvakanu, hoy me piyashmo. They know me piyashmo. What is the halacha? If they both have the tradition, then you're not considered zakim mamre. Ain't an eric. Hoy mekachu beina ve'eino mekachu beinainu. This is what we think. Ain't an eric. The kol shkenu hoy me piyashmo. Avad, if he says I have a tradition, ve'eino mekachu beinainu ain't an eric. Achi yoyma. This is what I think, and they have a shmua. Kachu beinainu ve'eino me piyashmo. Teida sherei loy hargu es Akiva ben Mahalo. You should know that they did not kill Akiva Mahalo. Rashi says he was chaylik in the chum malicious agiza. So already there's some mishnayos and Adius that talks about it, and he wasn't killed as zakin mamre. Mipnei Why? Why should he get killed? Because they shalom. Yeah, but machlekes b'shral. Vim taimar mipnei malahargu is Akiva Mahalo. There nishalom hayra alach lemaisa. He said, "This is what I think, but you want alach lemaisa, you have to listen to Besdin." Tanan. Kach the Rashi v'kach nirshu chaverai. Kach limati v'kach limdu chaver. My love, do Amar, aren't we thinking? Who am Piyashmuel? Ve'ein oimrim kachu be'neinu. So it's a kasher of kahana. Loi, who am kachu be'einai? Ve'ein oimrim Piyashmuel. Let's bring a right to Belazar Toshma Dam Rabbi Yishe Shloishet Dvarim Sachli Zir Man Shir Shleim. First of all, is Baal Shemachal of Kinuyav. Kinuya Michael. He could be Michael, and Nafkamina is if she does stira, if she's also or not. Ben Sawyer and Meyer. The halacha Ben Sawyer and Meyer Sheratzu Avu Ima Limchalai. Even after they give us straw and his makalko, they don't want to bring him to Bezdin. There's no problem. He doesn't have to bring a Bezdin. Meichlai. Zakin Mamre, Shiratzu Bezdin Limcho. Krosu, Shiratzu Bezdina Limchalai. Meichlai. And Rabbi Yishe says, when I went to my friends in the south, there might have been two things. Zakin Mamre, Loi Haidulu. There was Zakin regarding the Mensayr and Meyer. And regarding the first case that we saw, regarding the Baal, there they agreed. However, the Zakin Mamre, they said, no, Kadisha Layir, but Machlekes Yisrael. So Chayretz to Yufta taka on what we said earlier. Tanya there were 71 sitting in the malicious agos, like we said. Like we saw in the Mishnah. You go to your city. If they have a tradition, they know what the Paskin Amalan. It goes up in the ladder. Im shamu amale bim lav ban lezeh shal pesach bais im shamu amalahem bim lav where do you go ban lezeh shal pesach zara v'ay mekach derashi v'kach dersh chaveirai kach limdu v'kach limdu chaveirai im shamu amalahem bim lav elu v'elu what do you do ban lelishkas agazeh shisham yishmin they were there mitamid shal shachar tamid shal ben abayim. Now on Shabbos to be Yom Tov, u'b'Shabbos to be Yom Tovim, Yishmin, they were sitting in the Chel. The Chel was near the Seirik. It was around Esha Amas, it was 10 Amas from the Chatz Mishkan. There was a wall over there, it was called the Seirik. Over there was the Chel in between. Nishal Shalev of Naimim Shamur Amalahem. Vim Lav, I'm the minion to make a vote. Rabu Matarim, if over them say it's Tamid Tamu, Ramatar and Taru. Mishirabu, Tamide, Shami Visil Shal Shimshal Kol Tzarkon. We all know what happened. Rabu Machlaikis Rishav, and that's his Taida. Kishtei Tairis. Misham Kaisim Mishachim Mechalam Mechalam Mekaimis what we send out. Kol Mishu Chacham Veshafol Berech, someone who's humble in his Tam Chacham. Vidas Bricha Brias Neichemenu. Everyone likes him. Then what? Yedayim Beir, he could be a judge. Misham. Eventually, when someone else dies, it goes up the ladder. Malin Islar Bais, Misham Lazar, Misham Lishkas Agazis. Shochem Mitan they sent from Eretz Ezu Ben Olam Abba. Is who? And Vasim Shval Berech, someone who's humble. And Shval Berech literally means to lower your knees as a humble person. Shayif Ayel Shayif enough when he goes in and he goes out, he bows. The Garis Beraisa Tadir is always learning. The Loy Machzik Tivusal and Hashay doesn't say it's all about me. Yavi Rabbani Nayu Beravula Berava. They said, he stands with all these characters. Chazali Rav Shana. So what is the halacha? He goes back to the city and he goes against the Bezdin. Tara Abanon ain't a chayiv ashi yasik rasai until he mamish goes like what he paskin. That's when he's chayiv. Oshir lachem v'yasik rasai. So Bishma zaktamar yer lachem v'yasik rasai mikar la brakatolu. There was no bezdin. They didn't paskin against him. So he's not a zakim amrei. V'hashta brakatolu. We can understand. El shiyasik rasai mikar brakatolu. L'maisa, I don't care. You did something that bezdin says, and Maisa was also to do it. So Zok the Martena Checha, the Eir Bechela Vadam, Dimikar La Bakartolu, because there's only 5 cards we can understand. Vahashda, now you're Zok Mamre Bakartolu. Hela Hecha, the Eir Bechai Mises Baz, Dimikar Nami Bakartolu. What's the difference? My answer is no, Mikar by Yisra. Early you need Asra. Hashda, now these Zok Mamre by Asra. Frektimar Meses, the Loy by Asra, Michael Maymar. My answer is Mikar, Yamatai. If he starts giving Terutzim, we listen to him. Mekablina mene hashta. Now the Yazakim Amre. No. Iyama taima. We don't even listen. Mekablina mene, and we're going to kill him as a Zakim Amre. And he's going to get Chenek and Yetz Hashem next week. We're going to pick up from the following Mishnah.